We've got Ryan on a couple of bits of technology here. We've got him on our balance plate. So we've got him on our pressure plate, which is this black mat on the floor he's standing on. And we've got him on, you'll start seeing like there's a belt here. There's black belt and there's a strap here. And that's our 3D system. So when Ryan first came towards me saying the two main areas that he was struggling with was either massive hooks and blocks, or especially high and right. That was the one that was playing golf.
High, weak, and right.
High, weak, and right. That was it. That was the perfect term. High, weak, and right, and back pain. Now, anytime someone says they have back pain when swinging a golf club is a massive red flag, because no matter what we do in life, we should never really be getting back pain. And especially if we're playing golf, something in our body is happening differently. Now, in Ryan's case, he's had a lot of experience playing golf at a really high level and has hit thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of golf balls. So I was interested to hear what his best golf looked like, what his worst golf looked like, and try and almost get him back to that stage, because he's had 4 or 5 months off. But firstly, it was understanding why we might be getting back pain, right? Because that is a huge issue. No one should be swinging the club that uncomfortably. So in our first session, it was all about, can I understand Ryan from a technical perspective from his golf swing? Can I understand from a physical perspective what his body is and who he is as an athlete? Psychologically, what's his sort of mindset towards golf? And they were the 3 main areas that I'm sort of trying to look at. Down the line, I'll start exploring his tactical aspects, because I want to know how he's going to score on the golf course. But he's come in for the very first session. I want to know as much about him, his golf swing, and his body as much as I can, really. And it's really cool when you have somebody who has had a lot of coaching before and who is used to banging golf balls all day, every day. So as a scholarship athlete, Ryan is actually really receptive to change and makes changes quite quickly, and is quite absorbent, which as a coach is the best thing you can really ask for. You'll also see that there's a little red dot here. That's our laser coming from the back camera. So that was me setting it up. This was genuinely, Ryan, probably after all of your warm-ups, this was the very first swing we recorded after warm-up. Another cool thing about being a scholarship athlete and loads of experience in golf is Ryan, I asked him to go through his warm-up routine, and there's probably only ever been 2 or 3 people who I've worked with who actually conduct a thorough and good warm-up. And Ryan, you have made that list. Well done. Tick, tick, tick. And that is due to your background, right? You couldn't take those things for granted. You knew what to do. You'd learnt it at some point over the last 6, 7 years, or developed it probably over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
So that's great. He came in fully warm, and this was one of the first 7 irons that we chose. We'll roll through his swing, and we'll talk to you about the first things we sort of talked through. This is our Swing Catalyst software, and you'll see in the top right hand side we've got his live pressure data. So the pressure data swinging from his swing. As we roll from top down, keep going through. And because of your experience, Ryan, like
from there.
because of your experience, you hit the middle of the bat a lot, right? There wasn't many times where you were missing the middle.
Yeah, I don't. When I was swinging it like that and hit massive draws and hooks, I didn't pay attention too much to how I was, hitting out of the club face. I was too annoyed. That was going. It was shaping so much right and left.
One of my earliest sort of memories of your warm up was your strike and how it was very consistent, even in your short irons, and it wasn't a very consistent ball flight, but your strike was very consistent, close to the middle, and the right amount of grooves up the face. But if we can see here, I don't know if you guys can see it on your screens, but there is the golf ball. And Ryan is aiming someplace over, or trying to, his intended target is about over here somewhere on this straight line. So the ball has started considerably right. And we should be able to show that as well through our quad data as well. There we go. So there's the golf ball. It started right and it's staying right. Yeah. that baby
I've
ain't
never
coming
typically
back.
been a slinger of the golf ball, but because I took that long off, I think I just used my arms so much.
Yeah. And that was kind of the weird thing, right? Is we weren't, you definitely weren't sure on, it was high, weak and right, but we didn't really know until we got the numbers, until we got the data on, why it was
No.
high, weak and right. Like, for it could have been a number of things. The
Yeah.
very first thing in terms of why the golf ball was going that way, and if we have a look over here at Ryan's club data, is that his path is 9 degrees inside, 8.9. So if your path is 9 degrees inside, which is this way, so it's going 9 degrees out to the right, and there's only certain couple of things here that the golf ball's going to do. It's either going to travel out right and stay there, it's going to curve back nicely to the target, or it's going to hook and end up somewhere in the bushes on the left hand side. So with that excessive path, it was making it really difficult for Ryan to control his ball flight consistently. So that was the first thing after I saw it go high right. What's his path? What's his face? What are his club numbers looking like? And we can see that there's a red flag already, because that number is so large that that's going to be really difficult to control the golf ball from. But the main red flag for me before we start on golf ball flight and where the golf ball going is, how can we make your body move slightly better? Because obviously we're getting back pain, and what is causing the back pain. So that's why we had him on the 3D as well. So the 3D was going to unlock some ideas behind how Ryan's body is moving. If I roll Ryan up to the top here, this is why technology is so important, because if we take a peek at Ryan, can you see all this all right?
It's a little small, but I can tell what you're doing.
How about there? Is that better?
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
There you go. So this is why a real important point for technology right here is we've got his pressure data here, and this is Ryan's left foot, and this is Ryan's right foot. Now, if we looked at this image and this image alone and tried to predict where Ryan's pressure is in the floor, there's not too many people that are going to be saying his center of pressure is round about here. If we look at the way Ryan's body is, it looks like his pressure has stayed really central, right? I definitely would not have been predicting that his pressure was shifting away from the target. And this is why the 3D system is also really important, because the 3D system is doing the same thing, but for his body instead of what he's doing into the floor. So as we can see from this sort of image, on the way back, Ryan doesn't look terrible. If we look at the club up here, it looks quite what some people would say pretty. Everything looks like you'd expect from a 2-1 handicap golfer coming back from the States. But the main thing that the 3D system unlocked for us, and we can sort of see it here, is that the way Ryan's pelvis and chest turn and bend is causing potential back pain. So we can see that Ryan's trail hip, so his right hip, is much, 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 much higher than his left hip. Now, this is very common, and a lot of good golfers do it. But when it starts getting dangerous is when that gets too high. So if I draw a line from belt to belt, we've got a real angle there of his pelvis. Now, like I said, a lot of good golfers do it. And if we pulled up any top 10 golfer on the planet, we'd all see a slight right hip higher than the left. But Ryan's is too high. Now, what that does to his upper body is actually, and we can't really see it through video, and this is the great thing about technology, is that his body is actually sort of bending towards the target. So we have Ryan's pressure in his feet moving this way, but his pelvis is tilted and therefore making his body move towards the target. Now, for you golf swing nerdy people, YouTube watchers, what we often hear this called is reverse spine tilt. So his spine has tilted away from the target. And the number that we were getting off the 3D data, and I had a look this morning to double check at work, and unfortunately I couldn't put it, I couldn't get the data over onto my laptop. But the number was round about -4 degrees. So he tilted -4 degrees this way with his upper body. But, and here's the key to all of our coaching, is that just because his body's moved that way, we can't just ask Ryan to move his body the opposite way. We need to understand why it's doing what it's doing. And for Ryan, that's because this trail hip is too high and his turn and his tilt of his pelvis is making it really difficult for his body to do anything else. Now, Ryan, how would you describe yourself as an athlete?
Not most athletic.
Not the most athletic. So, coming from a very football background and from understanding a little bit about your strength and conditioning training over in the States and having a look at the way that Ryan moves, is that actually Ryan wasn't the best mover. And he really struggles to separate his pelvis and his chest turn. So everything sort of turns as one. And that's why in some players, and this would massively be the case for tour pros, some tour pros would have this same tilt that Ryan's got, but their body is flexible and strong enough for their upper body turn to go away from the target. And that is the most important message I can't get across enough, is that these tour guys are genuine freak athletes. And you can take that as far back way before Tiger was around, and everyone was saying Tiger brought about this athletic generation. Yet Tiger made it look good, and obviously his dominance in the sport was a massive factor of that. But a lot of golfers prior to Tiger moved exceptionally well for golf. So that involves rotation, that involves the way we can separate pelvis and torso, and how we can stay injury free. So for Ryan, there's a lot of golfers that do this and a lot of golfers that won't have back pain. So there's a lot of golfers that come into the lab and measure at minus in this spine tilt. So why is Ryan struggling with back pain? And it comes down to the next phase. So as I click through here, and as his swing starts generating a little bit of momentum, as we go to club parallel with ground, we're now seeing the pelvis and the torso go into a completely different tilt and a completely different rotation. So if I draw over the red lines and let's go to yellow, and estimate his pelvis and his spine here, we've gone through two completely different turns here, which when you do, I'll tell you what, let's stop screen share and let's go back to my screen. If I make that move now, so as I go up to the top, I do a Ryan and get this trail hip higher. I'm trying to do it the best as I can and lean away from the target. And then I crunch back the other way and start trying to turn on to the golf ball. I can feel it just from doing it myself. My spine is going through two completely different angles. And if we imagine our spine as like Lego bricks, so if we imagine all of our vertebrae stacked up in Lego bricks, Ryan's at the minute is only on a tilt. And that's okay. Lego bricks stacked up in one direction isn't going to hurt nobody. But when we then change the tilt, so then we, on the downswing, this is Ryan currently, on the downswing, Ryan goes back this way and then turns to try and create his power, because everyone turns in the golf swing. The pelvis and the torso are actually fighting against each other. So he's on this tilt at the minute, and then he turns back, then he turns around. Sorry, he tilts back, then he turns around. So if we go back to the Lego brick analogy, the tilted this way, tilt back, then turn. If I wanted to compress those Lego bricks and snap them apart, that's the way I'll do it, right? I'll turn them against each other and tilt it a little bit. And this was exactly what was happening with Ryan's golf swing. So if we go back to this screen share, is that this change from being towards the target to then going back and around. So he's gone from towards the target to then going back this way, then this way with his body to create this yellow line and pelvis, is that's going to cause some compression in the spine, which could potentially cause back injury. So why don't we test the theory, right? We've seen the 3D data. We've made a theory based on Ryan's golf swing, why he's creating some interesting ideas and interesting back problems. So let's test it. So we put Ryan, especially Ryan, it takes you an hour to get it, right? You were warmed up, but you'd been sat in the car and it was an early Saturday morning. Not the most pleasurable, not that if you had to choose a time when to have a lesson and how much warm-up time, a little cold, right? So we used the 3D system to set Ryan into the positive. So Ryan, when he turned back, had to go a little bit this way with his spine, and he had to keep his right hip what felt like at the same level of his left hip. And we tried to create some feelings based on when the 3D system put him into that position. And one of the feelings for Ryan was that he felt like his left hip had to go away from the target. So he felt like he had to move and turn this way. And that for Ryan was his personal feel. Now, one of the cool things about this, once again, is that for everyone, that feel will be slightly different. So we set Ryan a target to get into this 3D motion of getting his spine on this yellow mark. And he found his feel was, yep, Lewis, I need to get that left hip away from the target, and therefore I can turn this way as well. Whereas at the minute, I feel like I'm all on my front foot, which he wasn't, but, feels versus reals. As we go up to the back, we introduced this little simple hack for you guys that don't practice on grass, is that we've got a bucket of balls here with obviously no balls in, and we've put a alignment stick through it, and this is the top of a grip, just to make it a little bit more of a feel. So the alignment stick's a little bit flimsy, doesn't have much weight to it, whereas if we put a grip on the end of it, it's a little bit thicker and you can feel it. So we put this down here because obviously we can't stick an alignment rod into fake grass. We put that into a basket and put it somewhere near his left hip. And the goal was for Ryan was, can you turn away from that grip as quickly as you can on the backswing? And after a load of drills and after a load of feels, we started moving it into a full swing. So the time between the first swing that Ryan hit and this next swing, 951, was an hour. So we spent an hour dissecting his swing, going through drills to help this feel, using the 3D system. And an hour later, we actually hit a golf ball. That's quite a lot of effort, right? An hour's worth of waiting before you hit the golf ball. But the key here is that we couldn't just let Ryan hit golf balls trying a new feel, because Ryan's hit a million golf balls before, which is a bit of an issue when you try and learn a new motor pattern. So if we said to Ryan, just change now, he's going to struggle, because all his mind has ever known is hitting the white ball at full swing. So you'll notice that we've had a massive drop off in club head speed. He was around about 87 coming in, and that's because it's purposeful. It's a slower movement. Now, what we see here is that using this drill and using these feels is that we can see between belt to belt, this line is a lot straighter. And we can see that drawing a line up from here through the middle of his shoulders, ding, ding, ding. All of a sudden, we have a positive or neutral spine tilt. It's definitely not going negative towards the target. So we can sort of see some other things happening. His obviously right hip is staying lower. That's mainly because this leg is bending a bit more. We can see that here, whereas he used to get it really straight. So there's a lot of other things happening, which is making it like work. Now, Ryan, I remember us talking about the club getting long, right? And here the club is what we'd say quite short. Now, one of the feedback that Ryan gave us was he felt like this movement of getting his trail hip high and getting his spine tilted towards the target was happening when his golf swing got long. So when he got his golf club round about this yellow mark, nearly parallel, he felt like he had to overturn to get to that position. So as a side note, we had to be really careful that we were going back and not making the club get long, and it was staying nice and wide. So as one session goes, Ryan made fantastic progress, and that was all we focused on was, can we get you into this position? And if we get you into this position at the top of the golf swing, then we can do everything from there to relieve back pain. But we're not going to target 4 swing fixes in one session. We're going to get one thing right, and it's going to be the first thing. We're not going to start getting the golf ball, you striking it better, right first time. We need to fix the main root cause first. We need to get this right. Then everything else can happen. I hope this is making sense. Ryan, are you with me?
I'm with you. I remember it clearly.
Ding, dang, do. Perfect. So we can still see Ryan's got some path issues. We can see his angle of attack's changed a little bit due to the way he's setting the club, but we've still got quite a lot of path issues. And at the minute, I don't give a hoot what his path is doing because I'm worried about how his back is working and how his body is moving. So I said, right, go away, go work on that, set this alignment stick up, and job's a good one. Now, Ryan, being a collegiate athlete who has been used to standing on the driving range, hitting golf ball after golf ball after golf ball after golf ball. If I tell Ryan to go away and work on a drill, he messages me within a day and a half with a video saying, is this good enough? And he's probably hit 300 golf balls in that time. So as a collegiate athlete, being used to hitting all of those golf balls was a massive help. So this was, in fact, we'll tick through. This was Ryan when he came back to us for his second session and after working on those drills. And he reported that he'd been to the range loads of times and all of a sudden, no back pain when hitting golf balls. We were as free as a bird, correct?
Yep, no back pain.
Perfect. So we set him a task of go away, work on this, and hopefully it will help your back and it'll help you hit golf balls without experiencing any pain. And ding dang do, it worked out just what we thought. Now he's got no back pain. All right, let's have a look at why Ryan's got this massive path, which is back up to 9. Look how consistent that is. It was 9 when you came in last session, 9 when you come in for the next session. His path is exactly the same. He's hitting it high and right, or he's hitting that nice little draw. Now we've got his back working better. Let's find out why. So Ryan set the club. It's not got long. That trail hip hasn't got too high. Fantastic. We can see on the left-hand image, especially, the club is going to work behind him and is going to come in underneath his body on this sort of angle. And then he's going to see the club go way out to the right. So if we tick through, see the club traveling down and under his hands. So the club is, this is getting a lot of arrows. The club is this side of his hands. That's a very good indicator from us that the path is going to be inside. And then as we tick through to the golf ball, look at this path going out to the right. We can see the club traveling right. As we go through the ball, we can also see the club face is flipped well over. And that to me suggests that he doesn't want to see the ball go right, but he's fighting it. And we can see there's the golf ball again. So off to the right, slinging it in, hitting those lovely draws that so many people aspire to, right? How many people have looked at that golf ball flight, Ryan, and gone, I wish I had a draw like yours.
You don't when it gets out of control.
When it's going low and left, nobody wants to see that path inside. So if we roll it back, what's happened from Ryan's top of the backswing to the golf ball to cause his club to go underneath him? And once again, it is because of the way his body moves. So we've set his spine in a better position, but on the transition, and we spoke about this a minute ago, is he still gets back into this different. In transition, we can see the spines going towards the target as he starts to turn on. Now, if I make that movement of going back under the golf ball, that puts the club behind us. That's something we see a lot in draw players. And vice versa, we see the opposite happen for slicers. So his movement of his spine going this way and his pelvis opening up in this tilt is causing, you can really see it impact. Look at that. Leaning what looks like well behind the golf ball, is that was causing the club to get really underneath. So, Ryan, we could have said to you, and you might be able to comment on this, you might have heard this in the past. I could have easily have asked you, just try and hit a fade for me. Try and swing left and swing hard and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's something you've heard probably before.
Done that many times. Tried it many times.
Great. So a lot of your drills when you're based out in the States, right, working with these great coaches were skill based, correct? So they were based on, could you shift your path using skill alone? But what we were trying to target for short, medium, and long term was, can we get his body moving better? Because that's what is moving the club. So his body, we had to change from this lean behind and how it works on the downswing to be more of a central rotation, which will therefore square his face up and square his path up. So here we have, after a load of drills, and one of the main drills and one of the main feels that we associated with this was, can we all see there's a grip here? I don't know if you can see that, Ryan.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, hey, there we go. You need to get that back out, mate. There's a grip under Ryan's right, under his right armpit. And that grip is currently pointing down towards somewhere, if we were going face on, down towards somewhere just past quad, right? It's down there. We can see it. It's pointing from his armpit down and there. Now, Ryan's target that we used for Ryan was when in transition, from transition down, so from here downwards, can you get that grip in your armpit? Can we point it as far down across into the target as much as possible? So if Ryan done this with his old swing, the grip would point up here somewhere, right? Because you'd go under, and if I move back to here, if I use a water bottle for an example, Ryan would go turn this way, and you can see my chest going away, and the grip would point, if anything, a little bit up. Whereas we needed it pointing, if anything, a little bit down and more round himself. So that was an external cue we used for Ryan. It worked really well. and we had, lo and behold, we had a totally different change in his path. So we'd halved his path, got him a little bit steeper on the ball, and if anything, swinging at the same clubhead speed. So all of a sudden now, the golf balls go in with less curvature at the same speed that he was coming in, all through changing the way that Ryan's body had turned. If we look at this club, can we all remember that we circled the hands and said that the club with Ryan was going definitely underneath his hands? If we look now, it's so much closer to his hands. So we could see there was definitely a change in path there. This was Ryan's swing without the grip in the armpit. As we go back, look at that path at 3. Go on, son. As we roll down, look at that club coming through the hands as we start to turn, and we can see the club delivering so much straighter. Also, look at how much more rotated at impact you are. Look at your head, mate. How much you can tell the golfing world. Keep your head down. How many times have we heard people say that? You got to keep your head down. Got to look at the golf ball. Ryan he's not even looking at the golf ball. He's looking somewhere down the target line. He's looking at the flag, and he's already hit the ball, even prior to hitting the ball. He's nowhere, he's not even close. And this for Ryan really helped him start to rotate and turn. So not only have we helped Ryan in terms of his mobility in his back, we haven't gave him a big old strength and conditioning program and said, Ryan, go away and get stronger and bigger, and that'll help your back. We've made his golf swing accommodate his movement. Once we've helped him with that, we've then helped him fix his ball flight. Ding, ding, ding. All right, I'm going to take a little break because I've done a lot of talking and people are definitely bored of hearing my voice. And we're going to answer some of the questions that we've had.